Supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And seeing as this is 3MB, we are proudly sponsored by VMB Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that amazing deal of 50% off your MOT when you let them know that you're a Rambler. Thank you to VMB Auto Centres for their continued support.
Hey, subscribe to Blades Ramble, man.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is the three Mardy Blades, and I think we might well be living up to that name tonight. Look, it's usually quite an ironic name because we come on and we have a bit of a laugh, and that will still likely happen tonight, but it's usually quite positive, and we usually like to, because I think that's how we generally are as Blades, not just us, but I think a lot of us in general try and look on the bright side. You wouldn't think it looking at some of the comments of the minority online, which is what we get, and we welcome that here. We want open and honest opinion about what's the situation, why it's gone so wrong, why it's gone as badly as it has. But yesterday were a real frustration, and I've still not really shaken it, if I'm honest. We went so well in the first half, and that can't be forgotten. That can't be forgotten how well we played in that first half. And there's a lot to unpick with that. And then second half, it's been the story of our season where as soon as we face any kind of adversity within a game, we tend to crumble. And there's been the odd occasion where we haven't done that. Birmingham is a prime example where we went down to 10 men, missed a penalty, and then still came back for a point. Absolutely brilliant. And that is what we would expect from a Sheffield United side in terms of battling spirit, fighting and going for it till the last. But yesterday, after cruising, absolutely cruising for 50, 55 minutes, we chucked it, and I'm ready to hear what the boys have to say. So without any further ado, first up, it's Paul the Man Mountain.
This is the view from the mountain, with a heart so pure it's astounding. Man Mountain, strong and true, what a man, what a view.
How do, mate? You all right?
Yes, mate, we're all right. We're all right. We've come for his little therapy session.
We have, mate. We have. Yeah, it's
we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Just that theme tune itself sort of cheers me up a little bit. We're just saying it never gets old. Love it. Absolutely love it, mate. I've been brave today, actually. I've rejigged a lot of my Stream Deck, which is the buttons that you press off camera. So I've messed about with it. I've done a little bit of the recoding on it and stuff. So if it goes well tonight, I am going to be well happy with myself. Chances are something goes wrong somewhere along the line.
You got all your Alan Partridge buttons ready to go, haven't you?
They're to come. They're still to come. But I will be getting stuff like that in. I've just rejigged what I already had because giving it a bit of a glow up. Like we're trying to do it with everything around it. Speaking of which, thank you for the little segue that I've just posted. Who would you say was the player of the match for United yesterday, mate?
Sheffield United?
Yeah.
Well, let's get Dave on first before we start discussing all that. Come on.
Dave the Nose.
Get him on.
Dave the Nose, he really knows where the wind, I know whispers blow. Smelly brain, he's in the know. Dave the Nose steals the show.
Dave the Nose, how's it going, pal?
Cashback.
Nice. Alan Partridge, yes, love that. For those Partridge fans out there, it's a bit niche, but I do enjoy it, so I'm not bothered. Dave, I was just trying to do a quick little bit there with Paul. He didn't want to bite, but who was the best player on the field for Sheffield United yesterday? I thought it were a pretty easy one, to be honest. I'm only trying to plug my merch.
Merch plug-in, love it. What you got, mate? Who's that? Oh, Brooks. Oh, well.
Starbrooks!
We'll discuss Starbucks in a minute.
Can't go 90 minutes, though, can he, as Wilder said. Never want to let him have his props for getting called up to Jamaica. He's like, yeah, but physically
Yeah,
he needs to do more.
I know. Oh. Okay.
Do you think he was the best player yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he played really well yesterday. Yeah, our best player. Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah, didn't you?
I think he comes inside way too much. I think he should be going on the outside where the spaces are, and he doesn't do that enough for me.
Let me resize you, even though it's
thank
on
you.
top of.
I've been resized.
We need to see more of that.
Oh no, it's not working now.
Mate, I'll be honest. I think, yeah, I really like Brooks as a player, but he's
Sounds it.
Yeah, I do. But you've got to say as well, he's got to score. He has to score.
Yeah, he has to score. He does have to score.
He comes inside too often for me. I think he should be running his man on the outside. We know he can do that, and I think his decision making takes him inside all the time, and I don't know why. I know he's left-footed, and that's the way that because he plays on the right, that's what he wants to use all the while. But there's a massive opportunity I think he's missing, not going on the outside.
Is it because he's not a winger?
Oh.
What? I'm all right.
Dave, that want to dig at you, Paul.
If he's not a winger, Dave, what is he then? Because he's not getting in centre mid.
He's not right. No, I'll rephrase. He's not a natural winger.
So what is it? What is he a natural at then?
I don't know, but he's become. Look, he's done really, really well in that position, but he's not been playing there for that long, has he? He's sort of ended up there and gone, actually, he can make this work. So I don't think he has been that. I don't think he is that player that's going to go and take somebody on the outside. I think he's that used to being. I think he spent most of his time, hasn't he, in central midfield.
His best games have come when he's took them both ways. For me,
yeah,
his
I
best
agree
games
with that.
in the United shirt.
What I'm saying is, I just don't think that's. I don't think it's overly natural to him, and I think
his ball carrying is what he's got, mate. That's what he's good at.
He's still thinking, isn't he? Some players just do it on instinct.
Well, he's got to follow some instructions then, hasn't he?
We're having a row and we're not actually having a row.
No, listen, I'm with you. But Brooks's primary feature for me, his best quality is that he carries the ball well and he commits commits defenders well, and he's the only one with that yard of pace in our side who will worry a defender. And when he's on his game, we've seen him do it. We've seen him go around the outside, the inside. He's caused havoc.
2 Trailer Park Girls.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when he comes to shooting, it's like lobbing a dart at a board blindfold.
So many of them in the team are like that, though, aren't they?
Yeah, but okay, I know. But for me, that's his quality, mate. Because if he wasn't,
I agree.
If he wasn't playing out wide, mate, he wouldn't be a championship footballer.
Do you think if Gus wasn't there, he'd end up on the left?
Yes.
Well, you'll have noticed obviously that they were swapping, which I don't mind. I don't mind it. I think if you're looking for a solution and you're looking to change things up and you're looking to keep the defenders guessing, I don't mind it at all. But Brooks for me carries the ball well, and I think if he was willing to go both ways, I think we'd get more out of him. Frankly.
There's also the Sariki combination in there, which is obviously a really effective tool for us down that right hand side, and obviously it's not been able to be effective yesterday because of the suspension. But interesting conversation to start us off. It weren't exactly where I thought we were going with it. I was just trying to plug a little bit, and I'll do it again because we've talked about him so much. A bit of Starbucks, Andre Starbucks, BladeRamble.com if anybody fancies looking for a bit of that. But there's been a lot of heated conversations within the fan base. We've seen it in our Platinum chat already. The big conversation that we're not going to avoid talking about, even though everybody knows where I stand on it, still want to have an open conversation about Chris Wilder. People saying Chris Wilder's... No, some are saying he needs to go because he's not affected it and he's had long enough. I think that's a minority. I think others are saying the substitutions yesterday were baffling. I can't disagree really. I can't push back on that too much when you've got Hjelde on the bench and he puts Chong at left back. And
I'm ready. Let's go. Come on.
The floor is yours.
You now. Come on.
The floor is yours, Mr. Nose.
Let's go.
I don't want to fight with you.
Now let's go. Come on, let's have a rock. Baffling, I think, when you look at the fact that we were 2-1 down. Helder is, by what I've seen, he's a very, very solid player, but he's more defensive minded than he is gung-ho attack. Now, if he's having to make a physical substitution, one of his favourite sayings, but with Burrows, and Burrows can't do 90 minutes, I can totally understand why he's looked at the bench and he's thrown 2 players on at fullback who are, by essence, supposed to be more winger type players. And looking at the bench, the options just aren't.
I don't mind him having a go, Dave. I don't mind him having a go at all. And I think you're right. I think he's looked and thought, we're down here, we're losing, so we want to go all out. But I think the drop-off in quality is significant. Look, I'm not saying Helder's a brilliant player, but he's looked solid enough from what we've seen, and Chong has not produced, nor has Ogbene.
No,
so
solid isn't what we needed when we were a goal down. And if you look at it, a draw, it was hanging on by a thread almost, I think, and I think that was in his head of it's 3 points or it's nothing. So you stick on your most attacking players who can play wide, and you hope that you get
something comes off. Yeah,
it's the proverbial or bust sort of approach. I genuinely, I heard it and I got a little frustrated in the group, but the calls of why didn't we just go 3 at the back and push people on and all that, and I understood why he did it, and I think if it had come off, we'd have all been saying he's a hero, and because it doesn't come off and it was different. I don't speak to many people who sit there and go they think that Ogbene and Chong are fantastic signings for us and they've been brilliant. So I think there's a natural tendency that they come on and we've ended up losing anyway to go, what's he brought them on for? They've been rubbish. They've not done this. They've not done that.
Not only what's he brought them on for, but he's brought them on out of position, hasn't he?
Yeah, but the Ogbene one, I suppose, makes a bit more sense in that he plays right wing, and it's just a way of going, well, let's just get 2 players who can play wide right and just go for it. I think that the Chong one is literally he's picked a more attacking player over a more defensive minded player, and it's just I think if Burrows can do 90 minutes, I don't think he comes off.
Yeah, which is a concern in itself, isn't it?
Massively. And he spoke about it in the post match, and we all see it. Substitutions, unless you have a specific injury or you're managing somebody back from an injury, for me, substitutions should be about changing the game. And we spent all season spending too many substitutions because players can't do 90 minutes.
We looked at that bench before kickoff, and there's no game changers on that bench, and that is so. It's such a shame, and it's why I think a big reason of why we are where we are. I also think a bit like you, Dave. If we'd have been 2 or 3-0 up in first half, like we should have been, then nobody questions Wilder at all. This game.
Helder comes on, we look solid at the back.
Yeah, we see it out.
Yeah,
3-1 at the worst, and the XG says it we're probably a 3-1 game.
We battered them. If Bamford scores when he should score, if Burrows hits the target when he should hit the target, I know it's on his right foot, that's 2. I'd try and make an argument of saying if Peck doesn't try to dance his way through everyone early doors, that's 3. If Callum O'Hare could actually shoot, that's 4. Then we score a goal, it's 5. You only have to take 2 or 3 of them.
We battered them, didn't we?
Until they scored their first goal, we absolutely battered them.
Paul, thoughts, mate?
I was a little bit. I tend to stay out of it when I hear some of the reactive comments about what people think is the problem. I think we all acknowledged, and we said this weeks ago, that this game was a massive game for certain reasons. One being that if we lost it, the chances of our season having anything to play for were out the window. And we kind of knew they were out the window before the kickoff.
Yeah.
We don't like Wrexham anyway, so that means it stings even more. you go up and they come back from behind again. That hurts as well. And it's frustrating for everybody concerned. Everybody in the fan base is frustrated. The things about the stuff about Wilder is frankly laughable for me. And I know that people think everyone who supports Wilder's an happy clapper, and everybody who supports Wilder thinks everybody, no matter what we did, people were calling for Wilder when we finished third in the division.
Yeah.
That tells you exactly where people's heads are as far as he's concerned. There's certain people in life who will have an opinion that is this, and there's certain people who have that opinion that is that. If we went 20 games next year and only won 2 of them and he got fired, there'd still be people sticking up for Wilder saying, he had, there was this, that, and the other, because some people really, really like him and the way he goes about it. So I think that's that. I think I'm hopefully a bit more somewhere in the middle where I can look at it from a more objective point of view. And the truth is we should have won the game yesterday. And I think the narrative around all the unpicking of this, that, and the other is down to goals and chances and moments in a game. And it's what Wilder said in his post-match. If we defend properly a couple of times, they might not score a goal. If we take what was a number of opportunities, the XG was nearly 3 goals, I think, for Sheffield United yesterday. If we take 2 or 3 of them and we're sat here with a 3-1 victory, we're all sat here big smiles going, oh, is the season still alive, guys? And no one's mentioning Wilder and no one's mentioning the substitutions, which
That's right.
Because where he realised what's at stake. A draw's no good for us in this situation. We need to win if our season's going to stay alive. So he puts a couple of wingers who we're not too fond of anyway, because they haven't really done it for us. And he puts them on at fullback in the hope that they get an attacking opportunity at some point to bomb, because he probably thought we were going to pin them back for 15 minutes at the end, and they could be extra overloading players in the attacking area, which I thought Chong did reasonably well at down that left-hand side. I thought he ran down corridors. He didn't have much support out there, and he got a couple of decent balls in. But he just, he's not our favourite player anyway, so it sort of exacerbates that argument that Wilder doesn't know what he's doing, because we're not happy with Chong and Ogbenny's contributions all year, and we haven't been happy with them as signings either. So I just think it's very reactive. I think another day we win that game. All the stats tell us we should have won the game. Bamford missing, I could have put my house on him scoring.
Yeah, you'd want him there, wouldn't you? You want it to be him that it falls to.
Yeah, he should score. He knows he should score. I still backed him to score in the second half because I think he's that kind of player. I think Brooks has got to work the goalkeeper, hit the target in the second half. I think he's snatched at it, and I was really struggling that a pro footy player can't force something out of a goalkeeper or score a goal in that situation. And that just sums us up, mate. We've got you, Brooksy, you thought was the best player on the pitch. I never know what we're getting from him, even though he's been excellent this season. Even though his combination with Sariki is still, for me, our best chance.
Attacking outlet.
Attacking outlet. I've been saying it for weeks, and he deserves credit because he is still a young player. He's 22 years old. He's like Dave says, he might not even be a natural winger. He's there because he's the only one who can do what he can do. He's the only one who can carry the ball at pace at a defender in this squad with any effect. Chong can't do it. Ogbenny can't do it. He can, and he's a 22-year-old kid. And I still think 22-year-olds are still massively on the development part of their career, and I think there's a lot to come from him. If he can get a few bits right, he'll go for a lot of money, or he'll be an amazing player for us in the future. And I think he's been excellent this year. Don't get me wrong, but it's the narrative we've been pushing all season, or that Wilder's been pushing. You look at the age of our squad and the experience. We've been speaking about leadership on the pitch. We've been lacking leadership on the pitch because a lot of our players are young players, and what we've been saying on here for ages, young players are inconsistent. They're inconsistent in that moment. They're inconsistent. One time they'll take a chance, then they'll miss a chance. They'll make a really good decision, and they'll make a bad decision. Look at Femi Sariki. He looks like a £30 million fullback at times, and then he'll chuck one in for us at the back. That's what you get with young players, and that's what we've been saying all year. You've got Bindon at 21. You got Burrows at 24, Femi at 23, Peck at 21, Brooks at 22, and then you got Blaster, who's 22 as well. And all 6 of them, most people would argue, will be in our best 11. That's over half the team.
Also, Cannon, who gets a lot of stick. I think he's 22 as well.
Sam Cannon's 23. Right. I was just I wanted to be sure about what it was. Samari's 23, Hjelder's 22, Hoover's 24.
I thought Hjelde were older than that.
22 years old, mate. And we, Hoover's only 24. And we look at it and like when he says about, we got this young team that other teams don't have. And we look at, and people were talking about Wrexham, and I want to talk to you about something you said, Jim, about the Wrexham side. A lot of their players, they've got a sprinkling of young players. They've got Doyle at 22, who we know is an outstanding player at this level. And they've got Kabore, who I thought was the best player on the pitch yesterday.
Yeah,
the most dangerous player on the pitch. He's 24. And after that, they're all in the mid-20s. And they're all older than what a lot of our lads are. And again, I don't want to make loads of excuses but we've been saying it for ages. Young players give you inconsistency. And my God, look at Sheffield United this season. I don't think this reaction is measured considering the performance of yesterday. I get that it's frustrating. We go ahead and they come.
Yeah, I agree.
Do well. And there's moments that we think, oh, well, that one very good, that one very good. But actually, we should be winning the game. And I think that's why Wilder's most frustrated, because the narrative is now a really negative one because of recent performances and the fact we haven't got a result. But on another day, we win that game. And that is my issue with the reaction, because we've had a lot worse performances and won games this season, and no one's talking about all the terrible subs and the terrible players and the terrible this. We've got to look at what we see, and I thought there's still a lot of promise there in this team, but the inconsistencies have been massive all year. We've had champagne off the ceiling with Ipswich. We've had when we had a good performance yesterday, we've had the West Brom performance. Yeah, we get a point out of it, but that was dreadful for me. I thought that was awful for a home performance against the side we should be beating. And I thought we were a lot better. And that's just how football is. Sometimes you win, lose, or you draw, and you don't always get what you deserve.
That's true, mate. That's true. Hold your thought then about what you want to pull me on for what I said about Wrexham. I think I've got an idea where you're going with it, but we'll wait and see. Just on something you mentioned, in so much as you tend to keep out of it because it's reactionary, and I completely understand it. But in the aftermath, I think that's when people are most, not vulnerable, that's the wrong way to put it, certainly most emotional. And that's when, we get a lot of traffic on 90 after 90, people wanting to air their views, and it's what we're there for. And people, I think it helps people to vent, particularly when they're angry about it, but also to come on and praise the team when they've done well. I got a bit of stick yesterday for backing Chris Wilder, and I obviously stand by that. I'm not going to say, maybe I went a bit too far saying, who's coming in then, Big Sam? Who's going to do the job, Alan Pardew? Because that was a little bit of me being a bit too salty about it, because I just think people are at a little bit short memories in terms of where we were when Chris Wilder came in, and people know where I stand, so I don't have to force my point on Chris Wilder. It's repetitive, really, to a degree. But the one thing I did say was who would come in and replace him, and I didn't really get any names back. So as much as some people, and they're entitled to this view where we might need to change manager, I disagree with it completely. I think you two boys probably disagree from what you've been saying as well. But even if you were going to come forward with that argument, who's going to come in? And I had two names suggested. One was Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank coming to Sheffield United. And that's not digging anybody out for saying it. It's just, I don't think that's a realistic option at all for Sheffield United. We have to acknowledge where we are. And the other one was Michael Scabala at Lincoln, who's doing a fantastic job with Lincoln. Can't say any other. He's had a caretaker time at Leeds. I don't even know whether a caretaker or a short spell in charge on a permanent basis, but never done it at championship level either. And I think, yes, that might be if we had no manager now, it might be an option that we look at and we consider. But would you sack Chris Wilder for Michael Scabala? And if not, who else would you want? For those that want Wilder out, you've got to have an alternative. I think it's crazy talk to want him out. I think judge him after he's had a summer window to build us, because it's been patchwork for him since he's come back to try and piece everything back, to rebuild what had crumbled when he left. So he got a team to 92 points last season. I think that gives him enough credit in the bank for me to say he knows what he's doing in and around this division. So, Dave, any thoughts on that, pal?
I mean, there's parts of me that sorts of understood what happened in the summer. I still think it was probably, it's definitely in hindsight the wrong thing to do. But I can sort of still at the time rationalise some of the reasons that I thought that they came to the conclusion they did.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think he needs the summer and he needs a reasonable portion of next season to be judged. Because I think a lot of the problems have been fitness related and squad related. And he's not really had the time or the ability to fix either of those, given that we've been all the way through the season and there's only so much you can do with fitness. And that but if we look at the summer window, have any of them really, really worked to the point where we go, that one was a brilliant one?
Summer window, Tyler Binden's probably, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. I don't think we've seen the best of Jaff yet. I do think we will.
Talk to me about Jaff, by the way.
Well, he switches off, doesn't he? Certainly for the equaliser, which is really disappointing. A player of his caliber, but then last time out he was superb, wasn't he? So
we're really disappointed with him.
Yeah, but I mean, is it thinking back to his Millwall days? Is it down to who he's partnered with? And that's not a criticism on Binden, because I think Binden's been fantastic. But is he the right partner for getting the best out of Jaff? Is the captaincy weighing too heavy on him?
Would he be your captain, Dave?
No, I mean, I've said for a while, I think Gyro would be mine based on this season. Blaster if he's fit, but Blaster's a young lad, and I think he needs to be fully focused on getting himself back to where he was, not focused on being the captain of the club. I do wonder if, and this isn't saying he's a bad captain, but some players it does weigh. Some players it helps them play better, others it can weigh heavily. And I think it's maybe that could be one contributing factor to why we're perhaps not seeing the best of him.
Paul, any thoughts on that?
On Tanganga?
Yeah.
Thought
it was poor yesterday.
Yeah, I think when you're looking for a centre back, I always think that the best centre backs play the game up here. I think Jaff's got physical gifts that make him means he can get himself out of trouble. I think he looks at his best when he's making anticipate. He does anticipate.
Yeah, he does
shots quite well. He's always sliding in and blocking things that. We don't really give him much fanfare for that.
That's true.
Go, oh, he's a good defender. We'll give him that. The best defenders don't have to do that very often because they've already snuffed out the danger. And good centre halves are you got to watch if you're gonna judge a centre half. You got to watch him. I'm sure your dad would tell you, Jim, and I'm sure you know this yourself from your scouting days. You've got to watch a lot of the decisions that they take throughout the game. I think Jaffers at this level is physically is fine. Is he dominant in the air? No, because of he's not. I don't think he's the biggest centre half and the strongest in terms of when he comes up against robust centre forwards, which you get a lot of in the Championship. I think that players have success against him. I think he's not. I think if you asked forwards if they like playing against him, I don't think they'd say they like it, but I wouldn't think they say he's a nightmare to play against, like the best defenders often are.
Yeah.
I always used to bang on about Phil Jagielka and the unseen arts of defending that mean that although you don't see him necessarily making last-ditch slide tackles, it's similar to the situation at Tottenham. Mickey van der Ven looks ace when he's running 50 yards at full tilt to slide in and take somebody out at the last second, and everybody cheers and says he's a hero. If you look at his marking and his defending the ball going into the box, it's poor.
Yeah,
absolutely poor.
Yeah.
And if you look at good defenders, like the lads at Forest, for example, were today, if you look at the other end of the pitch with Milenkovic and Murillo, when they're together, they're formidable. They're
in the right place, and they don't get the credit for being in the right place because people expect them to just be there. Well, no, it's so easy to be out of position when you're not paying attention. So
100%, and I think that's the difference between Arsenal and Manchester City at the minute. I know Man City have had their day today, but I think that the difference will be the centre halves at Arsenal to the centre halves at Manchester City. I think
Yeah.
they are of a different planet in terms of the arts of defending and putting your body in the way and limiting teams to very, very little. And I think that I think Binden's somebody who you can get behind because you've seen the reading of the play from him has got better and better. He's a developing footballer, 21 years old, and getting better and better, in my opinion, throughout the season as he goes through. And his ceiling is incredibly high and a lot higher than Japhet Tanganga's, in my opinion, who will never be a Premier League defender. Whereas I think Tyler Binden could be a Premier League defender. That is just me.
Yeah.
On the eye test. I know that he's revered across this division as a really good defender, and I don't think he's a bad defender. I just think that there's things to do at centre half, and I think that second goal tells me what I needed to know. Really, I've been saying it from the get go that Burrows was scared to death of Kabore. Didn't want to go anywhere near him. Knew that he had him on toast if he overcommitted and he'd go past him. And that allowed him that space to deliver a really good, high-quality ball that was not contested in the middle. And it was a great ball and it was a good finish. But I'd want a bit more from my centre halves in that situation. And some better centre halves might have been able to get in the way of that. I think that the build up to that, we were talking about that Jairo Riedewald being off the pitch has cost us massively in that point because of how open we were in midfield. And we spoke about Tom Davis pressing on to try and nick the ball in the centre. Tom Davis has got to be a smarter footballer than what he's shown there for me. He's got an in centre mid, you've got to have positioning. You can't always be on the front foot. You can't always be trying to nick the ball. You've got to sometimes just sit yourself in. And I think it's down to a lack of cohesion, a lack of combinations on the pitch that haven't played together very much. I thought Burrows was hung out to dry a bit on that side. I don't think he had enough support on that side to open with Kabore, who I thought was the outstanding player, along with Smith, who heads the ball for the second goal. So I think it was about moments. I think we should have scored in our moments, and I think from our point of view, those goals were poor, but they'll be very happy with them because they took advantage and were more clinical, and that's why. Although we were the better side, that's why they might make the playoffs, and that's why we won't, because we've got a lot of young players who switch off at times. And there's a bit of a lack of leadership in the side, and this thing about Wilder, I can't even entertain the conversation, Jim. I really can't.
Yeah.
If you'd have offered any blade who's red and white, for me, I'm not saying anyone who thinks different is not red and white. But if you'd have said to him, "Oh, you'll be safe in the middle of the table with 7 games to go, and you'll stay up," based on where we were when he took over, most blades with a brain cell would have took that.
I agree.
And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but I just can't entertain this idea. Chris Wilder, if he hadn't agreed to come back, and he had every right to say no to him, by the way, if he hadn't agreed to come back, we could be where West Brom, Leicester City, or Blackburn Rovers are right now, not where we are.
Nobody's too good to go down, are they? And I think those examples that you've just given there, Paul, a prime example of it. Leicester City have got arguably a better squad than us and find themselves in an absolute shambles of a position. West Brom have got good championship players, which, a lot of us are now looking at West Brom and thinking, if they go down, we could maybe have him or look at this player. So it's mismanagement is rife within the division, and a good manager cannot be underestimated. Just one before I go into comments, because we've got loads of comments flying in. Thank you to everybody that's getting involved in conversation. But one more thing to ask you. We've touched, and I sort of temper this, because I think if I just ask you a straight question about the player, it's a definite yes. But you've also, Paul, put in question marks about the partnership of Tanganga and Binden. Today, Forest have comfortably beaten Tottenham at Tottenham. Tottenham are in a world of trouble, as we know. We're not fans of Nottingham Forest. None of us are. There's history between the clubs, and they put Sheffield United tax on players. We don't like each other as fan bases or anything like that. But do we want Forest to stay up to give us a better chance of signing Tyler Binden next season? Whether that be on loan, Wilder sort of intimated it might be a loan next year, or ideally a permanent, but obviously he's got a very high ceiling. yes, he's a great player for us that he's showing this season, and I think he would have probably a similar season. But if they don't work as a pair, does that also affect your thinking behind it? Dave, I'll go to you first, pal. Tyler Bindon. Are we cheering for
I'd
Paris?
sign him. I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say otherwise because I think
I agree.
he's really, really grown as a player this season. I think Paul's right. I think he has got a really high ceiling, and yes, he probably does have a higher ceiling than potential than Jaff does. So yeah, and I'm sure they can work together. Maybe Jaff needs a pre-season, maybe needs a captaincy, moving on to somebody else, and they need to spend the summer really working on things.
I have to say, I think it lacks physicality as a pairing. It doesn't mean I wouldn't sign Bindon. I think Bindon is the better player of the two at the moment. So you'd be daft to say I don't want to sign him. But I'm not. I don't know how I feel about them continuing as a pair because you put Bindon or Tanganga, and this name keeps coming back, but it's just because it's a reference point. Harry Souttar, you put him next to him as the Harry Souttar that we remember, and that is a physical presence, intimidating. It's just a completely different style of defender that also leads and things like that. We're not sure either Bindon or Tanganga are a leader. They're good players, but we're not sure they're leaders. Do we need someone as a leader at the back? Do we need a Joe Worrell even or somebody like that? It don't have to be a Harry Souttar, but do we need a different profile of defender? I really like Tyler Bindon. He's been second half of the season. He's probably been our best player in a lot of ways. So yes, you'd have to say you'd sign him. But Paul, are there some other factors to consider, mate?
I think there's definitely room for another defender because I believe that it's. I think what I don't want is Jaff to be thinking that he's the first name on the sheet every week. To be honest, I don't think he's quite earned that right. I think he's the best we've got to put out at this moment in time. I think I think we've seen him play better as well, and I think that signing someone like a Joe Worrell would give us some more of that. What we're talking about, leadership on the pitch. I think when you're 21 years old in Bindon, you need somebody who someone next to you you trust. I still think Tanganga is going to be a really, really good asset for us this season and next season. Sorry, but yeah, I'd take a Souttar or I mean, it's always difficult to tell from the sidelines when we're watching to see who. You don't get that many that are obvious in terms of the captaincy about it a little bit. I think Jaff's almost been. I think he barks a lot more than he would do if he wasn't. I think he feels like he's got a responsibility with the rules about talking to the ref, etc. And some people have been critical about how he goes about it. I think that some of the best captains are really smart, and I think they end up trying to be best mates with the referees. Because I think you're always going to get a lot more out of a ref if you're.
Of course you are.
If you know how to manage that relationship. Whether he's got those skills, it's hard to say because we can't hear what conversations he's having. We just see him shouting at the ref when he's frustrated, don't we? Sometimes, and therefore we question it. So it's difficult. I think he'll be a respected player in the dressing room. I think he has those moments where he looks like he's doing some outstanding defending, and he is capable of that. But yeah, I think we're missing a little bit of that know-how and a little bit of that unseen stuff that I spoke of. And a little bit of organisation because when you're dealing with Burrows, who's still for me at 24, you'd argue that he might be coming into where he should know a little bit more about where he needs to be and what have you. But we need a real smart player back there who's been around and knows what's going on
and even McCallum's 23, 24, isn't he? So it's not like if he comes back in, it's a different set of scenarios because he's a young player that's still learning and coming on as well. So.
Yeah, Sam McCallum's 25, and I think
is he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think he's. I don't think he's established himself. I think he's gone a long way this season to, playing his way into the affections of the fans and the manager through his performances this season. I thought before that he was miles off it. He never looked like a quality operator with the ball at his feet, and I think that's improved massively this season. He's found some form that I never thought he had.
Yes, Dave. Yes, Dave. That is old school.
Yeah, sorry. Is it getting a bit? Am I getting a bit shouty and ranty today? But I think McCallum.
I love it.
I think McCallum's is certainly a work in progress, and he's shown enough this season to think we can work with him next year for sure. The right back situation is going to be interesting. Sariki still needs talking through these games and needs to have a bit of do as he's told sometimes. I think he is an outstanding prospect and remains a prospect for me because of what he brings in the final third. But his decision making needs to be better, and he needs someone next to him who's going to be in charge. And whether that's the next point, do we think that the captain at the moment is in charge? And if he says stay, you stay. Is he that type who's going to get that out of him? I think Peck's got all the qualities, but by the same note, I saw him dig out Sariki the other day, and Sariki's performance fell off a cliff as a result, and he was shouting and doing and being obvious about what he was saying to him.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, did it? Because I thought Sariki's performance after that got worse and worse. So I think it's how you manage people is quite difficult. I think there's a few in that dressing room who I think they've got faith in Wilder, but I don't think they've all got full faith in the team ethic of this team at the moment. I think that there's something a little bit missing. I think that Wilder's looking for those ingredients in the summer.
Interesting. I wonder if that played a part in Joe Worrell's signing, just a bit of experience and trying to get an experienced head in there, really. It's just rather than...
Who do you mean, mate? Sorry, Joe?
Who did I say? Joe Worrell?
Joe Worrell, because we were talking about...
I meant Joe Rothwell, sorry. The Joe Rothwell signing that he made in January. I think it's been a combination of things, really. Not that he's going to push the midfield too per se. Obviously, he's there to have an impact on the field, but we just needed a little bit more nous in and around the club, I think. I'm not so sure about him signing on an 18-month deal. Again, I'm not going to get into Joe Rothwell, who's out injured at the moment, by the way. But we'll jump into some comments now. Bean says, roll on May. This team is so predictable. Start well, go ahead, concede, then either draw or lose. Never known a Blades team in the Championship have so little intent when we concede a goal. Weak as flip. Last few. Reece Norton-Davis at centre-back, etc. Also, please, can we stop signing players either over the hill or not played games in ages? Phillips and Rothwell have been here nearly 2 months and barely kicked a ball. Also, how Tim Pot was it doing a fireworks show when teams came out when we're 17th? Never again, please. I enjoyed the fireworks. Wayne says, if we had converted our chances, everybody is talking a different game. But it's the same old problems. Not confident about next season. Lots of good teams involved. Alex says, evening all, hope you're good. So frustrated and angry after that abysmal, unacceptable. Where's the fighting determination? Some great individual players, but that's not a Sheffield United team. Backing Wilder as always, no one better for the job. Best manager in my lifetime. He will sort this. Still slightly worried about being dragged into the relegation fight again. Not sure 50 points is enough. I am convinced we're not getting relegated, Alex. Don't worry about that. John with a $20 super chat. Thank you, my mate. He says, hi, 3MB. Paul, last Thursday, your 2 rule changes for offside and corners are creative and forward thinking. Big T's eliminating draws was out of the box thinking. What a great show you two put on. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. For those that didn't see it, Paul, what was the 2 rule changes that you pipped for in terms of the offside rule?
Well, it was I've been on about this. This will be no surprise to anyone who watches this show. No, just I don't think the offside rule's fit for purpose anymore. I think it was designed for one thing, and it serves a different purpose now. And my main criticism was going back 20 seconds to a phase of play to disallow
Correct.
through VAR. To me, is comical and awful for the game, really.
Yeah.
And usually when it's half a shoulder or a toe end or whatever it is offside. So it was just the daylight rule for that. The thing for corners was I think that there's too much for referees to try and unpick and manage. And it was that when the ball's kicked for a corner, it was to have 3 outfield players from each side allowed inside the 18-yard box when the ball's kicked, so that the referee can get a really good look at some of the holding, the fouls on goalkeepers, etc., and he can actually manage the situation a little bit better. They have rules like this in hockey, where everybody's, on a corner at hockey, everybody's outside the D, then they come into the D, for example. I think it would just make it a little bit easier for referees to get a handle on things. And also, I said about if you're fouling somebody in the build-up to a corner, I think that should be a penalty, because I think that if you're a forward who thinks that until the ball's kicked, you can literally barge, smash, push anyone out the way. And I think if you're a defender who thinks you can give someone a cuddle and wrestle them to the ground before the corner's been taken, I think there needs to be a rethink on what happens there, because I think the corners at the minute are a joke. They're just, you just never know what's going to happen.
Becoming a farce, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fast, mate. There's at least there can be. Well, I watch corners now, and I think there can be 4 or 5 fouls going on with 4 or 5 different situations that just don't get given because the ref don't want to give a pen for them in the first place. And that if they were done in the middle of the pitch, there'd be a free kick every single time.
Yeah, it would.
And I think
and every other corner, players get called out. At least 2 players get called out, one from each side. Look, lads, I'm going to give something here. If you don't, yeah, of course you are, ref. Of course you are. And then ball will come in, free kick to defending side. Ridiculous. It's so boring, so predictable. Get it changed.
Gaz was saying, Gaz was saying when the ref was doing it, I just look across it. Like me and him were on here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's setting him up. He's setting him up for it. Oh, yeah, I know he is. Yeah. It's boring, isn't it? It's just boring. Can't be any more
so
boring,
predictable. As predictable as Sheffield United, I think.
Yeah.
But that was on View from the Mountain every Thursday on the Blades Ramble at 7 o'clock. Who's your guest this week, pal?
Well,
It's
the world famous, isn't it? But we'll have to wait and see. I've got to speak to him again. I want to make sure he's going to be he's ready for it. It's all been built up a little bit too much for me. So we'll see. You'll see on the advert.
Really? Okay.
For 26-27, we keep CW but need new coaches for fitness and toughness, defensive and offensive set plays. We have 70 minutes team. I think that's slowly. That thinks slowly and has poor anticipation. Scouting needs to improve up all the Rambles. David says, heard fans complaining about coming out about Wilder. Okay, we lost, but if strikers missed chances, it should have been 3-0 by half time. Also need a commanding centre half. Anyway, I think Wilder will sort it out. When Wilder got us up in 2019, we didn't have parachute payments up the Ramble, but I can praise you 3. I enjoy the Ramble since finding it last year while in Scotland Halls. You are the best from a young 79-year-old. Thank you, David. You're always welcome here, mate. Very much appreciated. Batman says, evening, boys. Look forward to my fix of 3MB on a Sunday. 3MB from Wish is on a Tuesday night. So that is Batman Lou, Mark Meldrew, and Gaz Dunn, who get together for All Aboard the Championship and do like the top stories from the Championship the previous weekend. Batman hilariously called it 3MB from Wish. Mark Meldrew was not happy with that. He was face of thunder. What do you mean? What do you mean? They're all about the Championship from Wish. That's what them 3MB boys are. We can and will be better. Lots of mitigation for where we were. But the drop off to our bench and rotational players is too big. In some cases, in terms of ability and just some mentality. And some just mentality, sorry. Ian says, evening, more disappointed than I should be over losing a meaningless game. I know there's no guarantee with loan signings, but surely we have to improve our strike rate. One decent one, Bindon, out of the 7 or 8 we've signed this season is really not good enough. 2, he says? No, and I haven't got 2. I haven't got a second. Mark Meldrew says, evening, lads. Just not good enough. As soon as we scored, we went into ourselves and raised the level. They raised the levels and took advantage of it. 2 chances, 2 goals. That's the difference. Felt like we needed 8 to score 1. Jack says, we regroup and go again. Until the end of the season, it's important we climb the table and massive improvements on and off the pitch is needed, especially recruitment and fitness. I don't want to see us sign a player who hasn't played all season and is injury prone again for a playoff push. Pick a formation and build it so wingers next season. If we keep leaving our squad with holes, we'll never level up. Mark Meldrew says, season's done. And that's clarity for me just to enjoy the rest of this one for what it is now. Need a huge summer now. No excuses next season. Get rid of Deadwood and those that can't do 60 minutes. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. So there's a lot of calls for improved fitness levels. Physicality's not been good enough this season. Also, some of the players that have been signed, I think reading between the lines, on reputation rather than recent form. Calvin Phillips comes into that category. We haven't seen enough of him to know whether that's a dud or not, because I thought he was doing okay before he got injured. Joe Rothwell looks like he's certainly off the pace from what the glimpses that we've seen. I would jump at those as Hoover as well hasn't been great, but these are all players that have probably been on a long list for Wilder for a little while, and he is one for this, having a long list of targets and going back to it, when really there might be more current players that would be more suitable for what we need. Dave, any thoughts on Wilder's targets? Any concerns around it? Because there's certainly no to counter it. There's certainly no concerns around Gyro, Riedeveld, or Patrick Bamford, is there?
No,
So,
I think. I mean, we don't know with these injuries whether they're they're bad luck or they're injury-prone players. I don't feel so much. I still think if a similar deal is on the table for Calvin Phillips for next season, I'd be very much interested in us looking at it, because I think fit is class. And we worried about Bamford, didn't we? And I don't think you can say anything other than he's been a success as a signing. There's so many comments of if we can keep him fit, if he stays fit, he's never fit, and he pretty much has. He pretty much has been when he's had things. They've been little quickly recovered from niggles, haven't they?
I think Calvin Phillips, although I really like him, I was so excited when we signed him, and I thought if we can keep him fit, which we unfortunately haven't been able to do, then it would be a game changer. I just think next season, when we've no parachute payments, it's a huge investment to make in a player that's...
We don't know what the deal is at the minute, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't know what the deal is. All that's been said, and I'm taking it on face value, is that the terms were very, very favourable for the club.
Yeah, and I think he'd want to come back as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because he loves Sheffield United, because he's a Leeds boy, we all know that, but it's close to home. That's something that he kept mentioning when he first signed, and he's big pals with Bamford. And there are things that will suit Calvin Phillips to come back and have another go. It's got to be another favourable deal for Sheffield United, because we can't...
Look, 100%. That's what I'm saying. If it's a similar deal to what we've got now, and the club look at it and go, look, this is really favourable for us, as a player, I would love us to...
I don't mind us paying 30 grand of his wages when he's available for selection. But if he's not available for selection for half the season, then it has to be a ridiculous deal, like we pay 10 or something like that as a retainer or whatever it might be, because he is not... We can't have another Tom Davies on our hands. We've had him Tom Davies for 3 years, and he'll now leave at the end of the season on a free transfer, having not made an impact.
Is he another Tom Davies?
Possibly.
Do you think?
Well, he's going to have missed more games through injury than he's played.
Yeah, but we're talking about... I mean, we signed him on deadline day, didn't we? So really, we're talking about... We're middle of the way through March. We're only talking about a six-week window. He took a little bit of getting up to speed.
But is that because he hasn't been playing games and he's not up to speed? And that's
Well,
are we going to face?
Time to get up to speed, and then we don't know we don't really know the ins and outs of what the injury is, do we? So, I don't know. For me, I think it's very quick to sort of say, oh, it's another Tom Davies.
But I just think it's all right signing Calvin Phillips next season when we've got to be very careful with the budget. I want to sign Gyro Riedeveld as the priority in midfield.
100%.
So who partners Gyro is my question. And if you think Phillips and him balance out well, then that's fair enough, because I think City will probably leave.
Yeah, and I do, I think. And then if you've got a returning to full fitness Ollie Arblaster putting him under pressure, I think you've got 3 really, really strong starting options there. You've got Rothwell behind, who's shown before what he can do at this level. And he's definitely going to be there as well. I think you're then looking at a midfield 4 in options that most teams in the league are going to look at and go, we'd take them if we had that 4 as our option.
Very true, mate. Very true. Heaney says, Jimmy, I know you said you think you'll go well next season, but are you not concerned about the number of clubs with parachute payments and the likes of Brum and Wrexham spending big? Love the show. Thank you, mate. No, I'm not. You look at the table this season. Cov, Borough, Hull, Millwall, Wrexham, none of them parachute teams, all in the playoff spots. So I don't know if Hull or Wrexham are officially in it at the moment. I hadn't checked since the weekend's results, but all in and around it, all had really good seasons. yes, parachute payments gives you an advantage, undoubtedly, but we have also got an advantage of having previously had parachute payments by having good players in our squad. So we have still got good players within our core. There's also no guarantee that parachute payments brings you success. Southampton have really struggled to get any sort of rhythm. They've had a poor season by their own accounts. They're just doing well back end of the season and will be a lot of people's favourites for playoffs because of the form they're in now. Leicester are the team that are the obvious example. We've also seen teams go straight through the leagues a couple of times. So I don't think it's a slam dunk that whoever comes down is going to absolutely boss it. Having said that, I do think Burnley and Wolves will go well next year, and it just depends who the third team is as to how they get on. I think a Forest or a West Ham would do very well. I think a Leeds would walk the league. If Tottenham come down, I'm not entirely... They should, technically, but are they another Leicester? In terms of it, does it all collapse, Dave?
No, I don't think so.
You wouldn't think so, would you? But nobody, the majority of us thought Leicester were going to go really well this season. So you never know. Is it ultimately?
They'd be starting again. They'd be starting again because there'd be 10 players who would demand to leave Spurs. There is no heart in that team, and the big names in that team would run a mile. So
they'll fetch some good money, though, won't they?
They will, and then they'll have the pick of players, won't they?
They'll have the pick of the players, but the point is you've got to then gel that into a team. And if you're superior in ability to everybody you face, in theory, you're going to win more games than you're going to lose. But you've got to put a team together. And honestly, when you watch them and you watch them today in that game, that is a massive game, the lack of
heart,
any urgency to affect the game from their best players is
weren't it?
Unbelievable the lack of threat that they carried today to a Forest side who have struggled a lot recently as well to create chances at home against the side that you feel like you've got to beat. I'm serious. The rot is deep there, and I think that all them names that we speak about, the Van der Vens, the Romeros, the goalkeeper. Gallagher won't stay. Solanke in England wants to play for England. He's not staying in for the Championship.
No.
There's so many. Richarlison wants to play for Brazil. Madison, no way is he coming down. There's just so many who would just go, I'm out. I'm down the road. So I just think it might be interesting, Jim. It might be. They could come down and struggle. Yeah, you think
8
you're right.
spots. 8 spots as well for us to get into. So it's not like we have to go super. Anyway, there's a lot of time to talk about that, I suppose. But Lou says we'll be back. Outrun, outfight, outplay, no compromise. I wish it were more than just a saying, though, Lou, to be honest. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, up the 3MB, like and subscribe. Chris says roll on next season, give Wilder the summer to get leaders in. 2 centre-backs, Tanganga not good enough, and a midfielder in the Grimes, Alan Brown mould. We are so easy to beat at the moment. I agree. Alan Brown would be a great signing, but it's not going to happen when you've got a player like Joe Rothwell come in now. So Wilder is the man for next season, says Jack, but improvement is also needed from him. Cooler King says, evening Mardys, if you could change one thing about Chris Wilder's management, what would it be and why? Interesting. I would probably go with something I've just mentioned, actually, that I think he holds on to previous targets too deeply in terms of we can go back to previous players like Ricky Holmes who never came off, Samir Carruthers and players like this that just were not the players that we thought they were going to be, and Wilder signed him anyway. Ryan Leonard were another he chased for ages and he just didn't come off really. These things happen, and it's not but I think Joe Rothwell comes into that category. He's seen him play for Leeds at this level, did really well, but then he's had a shocker at Rangers. And Wilder's probably just thought, well, he can get it out of him what he had last season, and it's just at the moment very, very early days, but it's not come off. So, Dave,
I don't know, I'm just thinking in sort of it's more in response to what you said, because I think I'd lean somewhere transfer related. But what I would say is that I think the signing of Rothwell, I think the January window was about who we could get that he thought would improve the squad without financially risking too much, because it's such a difficult window to do business in.
Yeah, it's a balance.
That I don't mind it. I think this. It's a real difficult one because some of the discipline stuff is, some of the red cards, but then some of them have been unfair. I find it a really challenging one to answer at the minute because it's been easier in the past to pick things out in terms of, maybe stubbornness or how he's reacted in the press or in pubs. I feel like each time he's come back as a better version of the manager that left us. And I do think there's been quite a lot of growth in him. I'd maybe like to see from a recruitment perspective a little bit less of the Wilder type of player. You tend to look at those and you go, "Oh, that's a Wilder type of player," and maybe.
So Josh Windass, you wouldn't be interested in coming to the line?
I like Josh Windass. I do like Josh Windass,
but he's a Wilder player, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not saying we ditch the Wilder player thing completely. A few more Mavericks, because I think a lot of the Mavericks have not been through Wilder, have they? I think Gus was a Hecky signing.
Yeah.
Illy came through under Hecky. Morgan Gibbs White was a Slav signing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, did he maybe being the last one? Is it fair?
Yes.
To say
yeah, good shout.
So maybe be a little bit braver in the window. But I feel like I'm splitting hairs, and that's not to sound like a Wilder fanboy, but I think he has smoothed out as he's aged and as he's been away and reflected on himself. I think he's really good at reflecting on himself.
Paolo, if you could change anything about Chris Wilder's management, what would it be and why?
I'm not sure, mate. I do like Wilder. I think he's done, when you look at his record for Sheffield United, I think I'd be hypocritical for me to say anything in particular. I think there's been, in terms of signings, mate, I think that's the way signings go. I think if you look at the ones he's made, so if you look at those, I mean, people talking about, oh, we're buying old crocs, he's buying players who've been there and done it. So
yeah.
He wanted that experience and that know-how in the squad and in the team.
You go back to James Anson and Martin Craney and Gary Medine and these players that aren't game changers per se, but they did the job that we needed them to do at the time, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Chris is best when he's evolving. I think he's been doing that recently in terms of how he goes about certainly managing up. So I think he manages up way better in the press than he used to.
Yeah.
In terms of his comments, and he's less likely to get pulled into a boardroom for a crisis meeting because of a comment that he's made. I think that's fair play to him, because you got to be able to change and grow with it, even if you disagree with things, which he's got every right to agree with some things, hasn't he?
Yes.
I think it's a little bit his way or the highway. I don't know. And again, I can't comment on relationships between people on the coaching staff because I don't know. I'd be completely guessing. But I think that good managers do tend to rotate who they work with behind the scenes, because there's, I think some certain things have a lifespan. Ferguson did it for years. He'd have a new assistant and he'd hire new people to bring some new ideas to the fore. There's a lot of clamber for Sheffield United to sign Sheffield United ex-players, people who know the club, all that narrative. Some people agree with it, some people don't. I think people who are good and qualified are the best type of people to sign in those positions. So they're not the manager, they don't set the culture, but they might be able to bring something to the table that is that can improve the side. So yeah, and I think the critical of signings, Joe Rothwell at his best improves every team in this division. Danny Ings, if he shows any flashes of form, he scores goals at Championship level.
He's not a Wilder signing though, is he?
He's not. But what I'm saying is these older players that we've signed, the ones that he has signed recently in Bamford and Riedewald, everyone had signed them tomorrow. They say, well, give them an extended deal. We want them to stay. And I think that's what you get with signings a little bit. Certainly the ones that haven't worked, the Ogbennies, the Chongs, the McGuinnesses.
Matos.
Certainly Matos again. A huge. Looks like to be a poor signing, but they're not his either. So I think you've got to give him that opportunity. I think he bemoans the idea that he's relied a lot on young players to play 50 matches plus for him this season. Talking about what I think have been our best performers this year more currently Bindon, Femi, Peck, Brooks. Femi's 23, Peck 21, Brooks 22, Bindon 21. They're kids in the professional game. They're kids,
Yeah.
And I think he just bemoans the fact that he has to rely on them to be our they've been our best players this year, in my opinion, and that's an issue. That's a thing. I think they should be sprinkled in at times and bled in, and shouldn't necessarily be the first names on the sheet every single week. And I think we see the tiredness come through. City Peck's definitely one for that. Well, I mean, a couple of weeks he looks like he's running the game, and then the next week you can in that position it's all action. It's relentless, and you can see he's tired. You can see it. But we haven't got the options on the bench. Despite having all these midfielders, we haven't got the options that are adequate to come in and replace him.
I thought it was telling that Arblaster came on because I think he's been reluctant to use Arblaster just because of his fitness concerns around him. He wants to wrap him in cotton wool a little bit till close season, pre-season time. And the fact that he brought City off, who has been doing 90 minutes for him week in, week out, Wilder saw it too, didn't he? That he was struggling during the game, and I think that were...
Yeah, I think we still owe Blaster the opportunity to get himself back to his old
fitness. Proper pre-season.
Yeah, he does. He needs a full pre-season. I think if Wilder now, we will see him very, very sparingly used between now and the end of the season. I think,
and I agree with that approach, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, if you ask Blaster, he'd tell you he wants to start.
Yeah, he would stay on one leg, didn't he? I have thought of something actually, just to add into it, and then I feel like he said it in the press, but I don't feel like we've actually pushed enough to make it happen, and that is getting more of the young players that aren't ready for the first team out on loan properly. I think we've looked at it, and then there's been too many occasions where we've said, "Oh, well, but what if?" And all we're doing is we're stunting the development of some of these players, but by not getting them out quick enough and for long enough.
Ryan O'Neill should have been out all season.
Yeah,
and Louis Marsh as well. They were never going to be in the first team. And O'Neill had a chance, but I think we knew fairly early on that when we stacked to the top of the pitch, he wasn't going to get much of a look in. And if you're not going to play him, or you're going to play him very, very sparingly, then at his age, it's all about reps and consistency and getting out and playing in it. So he's there at Lincoln now.
Send him out, bring them back in January if they're flying.
Exactly right. I'd rather do that if we're struggling and we need a striker, and he's at half a dozen goals for Lincoln early doors this season, then we've got a chance to call him back, haven't we?
Like Faxon, for example. If we gone, oh, well, what if? And then the what if has kind of happened. But if Davies went down injured, we can get an emergency loan.
Yeah.
And it's always a gamble, but I feel like we've been way too conservative,
way too cautious,
where we could have had Faxon out on loan for 6 months. And again, I'm being super critical, but that's what I have
the question.
To be.
Yeah, that's the question, mate. Okay, so I'm gonna start whizzing through some of these comments. If you haven't had one read already, I will make sure I try and get one of your comments out, but I might miss a few that's already commented. Mentality and quality, says Russ, of this squad is nowhere near last season. The bench actually weakens us, but it was obvious from the start Wilder can only do what he can do, and it's clear he's sussed a few out. Can name about 6 players I'd like to keep, and even out of that, I think 2 or 3 get sold. Regal Smoke says the mentality of being weak needs to be carved out from the root. I'd be more than happy if a lot of players were sold for some decent brass. And if we have a whole new squad in, Wilder works well with cheap. Ray says, even in all, I should have been in front in the first half, but we faded second. Roll on next season with some players who can do 90 minutes and not injury prone. We have to be better next season. Up the Blades and up the Ramble. Scott says, Jimmy going to receive a few cease and desist letters in the post for copywriting company logos. Don't know what you mean. This is nothing like any other logo I've ever seen. So it's just something I came up with on the fly that that's never been seen before. Quite unique, actually. So there you go. Russ, disagree there with Mountain. Brooks, for me, seems to be better coming from inside and maybe better as a 10. But a good winger is balanced and can do both styles inside. I think, to be honest, Russ, that's what Paul was saying. He comes inside too often and he's most effective when he's going both ways. Because if you become predictable, then it's easier to defend against you because people will show you outside where you're not comfortable and stuff like that. So Dave Morwood with a £20 super chat. Thank you, my mate. Says, we go again next year and we would have taken this after 6 games with Blades and we always come back for more. Like and subscribe. Up all the rambles, up the Blades. Thank you, Dave. Very much appreciated, mate. Cornish Blade, who's a huge supporter of the channel. Thank you, my mate. Justin says, rumours clubs not renewing Riedewald contract and going with Rothwell instead.
Be amazed.
I'll believe it when I see it. James says, Brooks is a young man who is a work in progress. He's better with Sariki down the right. Good luck to Brooks on Friday playing for Jamaica. Yeah, absolutely right. That's how you're supposed to say it, I think. Chris says, doesn't Josh Windass celebrate goals? He scored in both our games and has not celebrated. He's a blade. He's a secret blade, I think. Pete Noble says, hi guys, I like Wilder, but playing a system which doesn't suit your assets and picking the same side whenever possible who can't make the system work is baffling. Up the 3MB. Gaz says, Dave, nail on the head, mate, regarding subs for the fitness rather than tactics. I'll come to you, Paul. Rather than tactics, main effort in the summer is fitness, just as important as recruitment.
I just if he wants to, can he sling in the comments what he thinks the best side is and what the main strengths are that are available to Wilder after Saturday? I'm just interested in what he thinks are the strengths and what team would he play and how what would that look like and just tell us that as well. Because
I think that's fair. That's fair. I think me and Lee have sort of suggested a 3 at the back in terms, and I know we talked about it last week, lads, but I think we've got the players that suit that system. But then when you play it as well as you do, as we did for the first 50, 55 minutes, how can anybody say that we haven't got the players to fit that system because we dominate?
The system, is it? That first 50, 55 minutes is not the system, it's the players.
Well, either way, mate, it will work in whatever it was.
They didn't score, did they? They score, the system's brilliant.
Sky Blue says, you lot still interested in Bobby Thomas? Play up Sky Blues if you're offering him, mate. And we'll have him. I think he's just... Luke says, no Sky Blues, you can keep him. Good, he's Prem. He's there with us, fella. Yeah, you're going up Sky Blues and no need to be cocky about it because I'm pleased for you. I'm happy for you. No issue with that. Would love Bobby Thomas, but obviously he's one that we didn't get over the line. Let's have a look. Chris says fitness levels at the club have been too low for a couple of seasons. Backroom staff need refreshing and sorting out. I mean, it's an easy one to go back to, and I don't think they were underappreciated at the time. But you go back to George Baldock and Ender Stevens on either side, just bombing up and down, up down, all game. And now we've got Harrison Burrows, and this is not just digging him out because Hoover got hooked as well, but they can't do 65, 70 minutes. It's night and day from what we used to have. So, Lou put in the chat, I don't know if it was Lou that originally said the comment, but can you imagine Jack O'Connell and John Egan conceding that goal like we did at the weekend? It's like yesterday. It wouldn't have happened, and if it would, it'd have been sorted out very quickly. They weren't impenetrable, and you do have a tendency to look back through rose-tinted glasses, but it's a completely different setup that we've got now.
I think Burrows was hung out a little bit to dry on Saturday. I think it was clear for me after about 10 minutes that Kabore was the main threat.
Yeah,
and I felt he was found himself 1v1, and I didn't think he wanted to get close enough because he's not as quick, and there's not many as quick as Kabore, but. I don't think.
And Gus is a luxury that's not going to work back, is he?
There was it's not just Gus; it's the centre halves as well. There's a lot of things that could happen. The centre mid, the centre half. I feel like he was a bit worried about what might happen if he overcommitted, and that never really got sorted. And for the second goal, he was worried to get too close because he thought he might have him on toast. I think, and that's why he had the time to put that Super Bowl in.
He did indeed.
But that's lots of things. That's not just Burrows.
Yeah, true. Blunt Yorkshireman says midfield is a key weakness for us this season. No coincidence it was poor before Gyro was signed, and it goes to pieces when he gets taken off. City is inconsistent due to age. Others offer nothing. Ian says, and happy birthday to Sheffield United. 137 years old today. Ray Proctor was at the first game. Stood next to Andy the Blade, I think. Let's have a look. Liam Pilo says, evening lads, the problem for me is there are not enough fit players. The players not fit enough. We have a great top 6-11, but half of them can't do 90 minutes. And after that, the bench and the depth are poor. At the minute, we don't even have 2 fit centre midfielders. We are 7 games away from the weekend finishing. This is huge red flag and it needs to be raised. In the summer, need to get some athletes in with a good injury record and buy some natural wingers up the Blades. I don't disagree, mate.
Liam's at the nail on the head there. Wilder will want robust. He'll want proven 40, 50 games a season. I think we've been stung as a club.
Essex Blade says, I'd have Eki back. He did a great job for us. Eki, who's got Preston below us, I think, at the minute. Is it? So it's not going great for Eki either. He did a great job for us. Can't be understated what a good job Eki did. I'd rather have Chris Wilder, personally. Russ says, club captain is totally different animal to team captain. Carl says, Jaffa's become the new Robbo. He's a very capable player, but can also be an absolute bomb scare. Cooler King says, Liam Rossini will be available soon. I wouldn't judge him by Chelsea. That club's a basket case, and I think he's gettable. I think he'll be hot property, to be honest. Wilder gets the summer and a window. If we're not top 6 by Christmas, that's it. Our young players need looking after, not covering in battle scars. Need some experienced heads to lead and calm the waters. Who else has not had a comment read? Statman Jack says, evening lads, fitness levels will not be sorted until they have a proper pre-season of strength and conditioning ready for match 1 in August. Not a Mickey Mouse camp in Spain under Saez. When the bench is weaker, we struggle in the last 20 to 30. You can tell Wilder holds on as long as possible to do more subs after he brought Davis on. Davis was the first as he's been the best option we had. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. We'll be finding the new season, he says, a balanced squad and a bench which actually has fit and conditioned game changers. Parachute payments is not everything. Look at Cov, Borough, Millwall and Hull. Onwards we go, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Shires, he says, don't take our chances, can't hold a lead, not fit enough for 90 minutes, crumble under pressure. Is this too much to fix in one transfer window? He's a lot of work to do. He's got an awful lot of work to do to get players out. Alan says, we'll have my support, lads, for 44 of next year's 46 games. Except against Wolves, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, my mate. Yeah, we will be playing each other next season. Maury says, Rothwell's injured? Yes, he is, my mate. He is injured at the moment. Russ, I don't know whether I read one from you, says, that's down to referees to man up and do their job. You can't start dictating how many players can be in the penalty area when the ball is kicked. Ridiculous.
Oof.
Yeah, ridiculous, man.
It was an idea.
No, it's ridiculous.
Go on, Ross, give us your idea then, mate. Tell us the better one. Tell us the better one. You know, ridiculous. It was just it was a left field idea. I don't expect it to come in anytime soon, Ross. I promise.
It's down to the referees to man up and do their job.
Christine, need some better help in doing their job, don't they? But I think there needs to be some more robust guidelines, perhaps.
I know what Russ is saying, but it's chaos. It's chaos in the box when it's happening. Yeah. So how many eyes can you have? He's got the one assistant at that side, whichever side it is. The corner's being taken on, but he's got one assistant to help him because other side at halfway line. There's 2 of them trying to monitor 18 players. And it's a really tough gig, that, to be fair. So I get why you'd raise the point, and it's, you know, that they're making, it's not been enforced very regularly. We've seen one at Bramall Lane. Goalkeepers who take too long on the ball now, they're conceding a corner. That after 8 seconds, you're supposed to get a corner awarded or something along those lines.
And have you seen it happen yet?
It's happened once at Bramall Lane. We've seen it happen. We got given a corner for it early in the season. But these are the that's a more daft rule than having a certain number of players allowed in box.
You know, I mean, on the referee thing, I think I'd just rather them find some form of consistency more than anything.
Absolutely,
that'll be half the battle. But anyway, that's a completely different kind of word.
We ain't got long enough for that. Christine says, "Why are fans saying Wilder out? It's obvious to me that he's our one and only. It seems to me that our players have just lost heart. No fight at all." Kyle says, how many times have we got in front and then lost? Big clear out needed in the summer, gents. I agree. I think there is. Papa Blade says, hi lads, what are your thoughts on our current fullbacks if we stay at 4-2-3-1? I don't think they're good enough defensively. Also need big, strong centre-back and another number 9 type, as Pat won't play all of our games. If it's 4-2-3-1, we need proper wingers that can go round the outside. round the outside.
Pace, please.
Yeah, pace. Absolutely
Pace.
right. I'm not sure on the system. I think he'll stick with the system because he likes the system, and I think players will be brought in to accommodate the system as opposed to using a system with play that fits the current crop, if that makes sense. I'm going to try and say system as much as I can. Danny says we definitely need a target man, number 9. Sims for me would fit that bill. Likely to be available as Coventry are on their way up. So maybe he's certainly closer to Bamford standards than what we've got, I think. John Asquith, my business coach. Am I the only one looking forward to a clear out? The squad looks identity, and I'm personally lacks identity. I think that isn't, and I'm personally looking forward to Wilder building a squad on a budget. John Asquith, by the way, who I saw in Triple Point before the game, was trying to convince me that the playoffs were still on. Pretty much. I promise you, he knows what he's talking about in business. Just football takes unbelievable. Unbelievable. He says, I'll see you in hotel afterwards for after party. I says, you might. We'll have to wait and see. I didn't, obviously, because we didn't do an after party. Glenn says, you're not as good as you think you are. Does he mean the club?
In general? Or...
Do you mean the show? I'm not
Jim,
sure.
Jim, this was the point I was going to raise with you. And I know we're running out of time now. Because I do see you.
Well, if you're going to raise a point against what I've said, then we have run out of time, I'm afraid. No, go on.
Mate. he's on about when you say about how good our team is compared to everybody else's. Now you won't have any of the Wrexham lot in it, and when
you tell me now, right?
When you do stuff with Cal, there he is. Look, getting ready. When you do that, I think you overrate some of our players quite a lot.
Like who?
A lot of them, an awful lot of them. Maybe all of them.
Dave, what are we dealing with here? Come on.
Which ones? Well,
all of them.
Nearly all of them. Nearly all of them. For you, many. From what we've seen from Wrexham, I know we don't see Wrexham all the time, and we see the 2 games. I see him bits and bobs. Look at him looking sideways. What's he doing?
Just looking at comments. Just looking at comments. Go on.
All right, sorry. And yeah, I think there's I'd take 5 or 6 of theirs and put them in our first 11.
Okay, tell me who you're putting in our first 11 from Wrexham's side on Saturday.
Oof, at the moment,
no, just in general, who are you taking out of Wrexham's side and putting in our side?
I'll take Doyle.
Would you over Bindon or Tanganga?
Yeah.
Would you?
I'd take Doyle.
Yeah, Kabore
over Sariki. Over Sariki.
Maybe not. Maybe on the right wing or Sariki. Yeah, I would take him based on what I've seen on that. Certainly on last game. Sam Smith, I really like up front as well. Definitely
Instead of Bamford.
Definitely take. Yeah, I would at the minute. Yeah.
So that's 3.
Yeah. Ben Sheaf, I'd take.
Ben Sheaf's not in the squad.
No,
not in the side.
No, but he is their player, and you said you wouldn't have any of their players.
No, I wouldn't. No, not in our 11. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have Ben Sheaf over Sidney Peck or Jairo Riedeveld or Calvin Phillips.
No, I think Lewis O'Brien's a good player.
Yeah, I do. Where does he get in?
Windass is a good player. I think
where does he get in?
A good player.
The good players. You've not answered the question, have you?
Windass gets in the 10 at the minute.
But right, what you're basing that on is a performance on a one-off game.
No, it's in. I've seen this. I know what the United team can do.
I'm sure you do, but they can do better because they have done better all season. That's the reality. They've done better all season.
As a team, they have, but as individuals, they haven't got a better side than us.
They have got decent individuals as well. What we think Femi Sariki, you think he's the bomb. He's been a nightmare for certain games this season. I think he's great in certain games, in certain situations, and I agree with you on that. But do you think he's better than Kabore based on what you watched on Saturday?
Yeah.
Nowhere near. Kabore was doing both things very, very well.
Kabore's a good player, but you can't say he's a slam dunk over Femi Sariki.
At the moment, he is for me. Yeah, definitely.
Is he?
Femi Sariki has made mistakes, given away goals for it.
Has Kabore not?
Mate,
Kabore don't get in their side every week.
Mate, Kabore was the. Well,
he played really well. You're judging it on one performance because Kabore doesn't get in their side every week.
Jim, I just think.
But he gets in over Femi Sariki because you saw him have a good game against Sheffield United.
Ben Sheaf would play for us every single game.
What Ben Sheaf of Coventry, maybe?
It's still Ben Sheaf. It's the same player.
He's Okay.
Yeah, mate.
We haven't time to do this.
Yeah,
but I will.
I know, mate. I just think we think it's gyros.
Where does Ben Sheaf get in? Who does he get in over?
Well, if you're looking for, I think he's been more consistent than even Gyro Riedeveld, who's been excellent for us. Ben Sheaf. Yeah, he is. I think he gets in our team. I really do. Maybe not the first 11 every week, but I still think he would start a massive number of games for us.
Oh, I love you, Paul, but that's ridiculous.
Thank you. You give a man enough rope.
Mate, I'm telling you. If Ben Sheaf was in our squad and fit, he would play like I think he'd play way.
If Tom Davis were in our squad and fit, he'd play.
No, he's way better than Tom Davis.
If my grandma had wheels, she would have been a bike.
She would have been a bike. He's played. How much has he played this season? Let's have a little look.
28 matches, no goals, no assists.
Oh, what a player! What a player! And he's played. He's not been in the squad.
How many did he play for us last year, and how many did he score?
So he's out injured at the minute. He played 16 minutes against Ipswich. 72. Never finishes a game, really. Not often, anyway. 18 minutes there. 28 minutes. What a player this lad is, by the way. No, look, Ben Sheaf is a good player. You're just going on past reputation. That's all it is, unfortunately.
And so are we on a lot of ours, I'm telling you.
What?
We are. We are, mate. We are.
Okay.
Think we have this thing in Sheffield United. We think that our team is better than everybody else's. And
no, you back your players, but not blindly. And I think there's
just look at the season, mate.
Absolutely. What I'm saying is, we've been a poor team this year. We've got very good individuals that's underperformed as a team. We could go through Ipswich, and Ipswich would probably beat us in a combined 11. Southampton might beat us in a combined 11. Coventry even might beat us in a combined 11. But player for player, I'm not having Wrexham have more players than us that get in our side.
No, but you said none. That was my point. You said none.
No, I said there's probably 3 I'd take.
Mate,
you've given me 3.
I'd cherry pick five or six to go in our squad, definitely. And
squad? If you're talking about squad, then that's a different conversation, isn't it? 5 or 6 to go in the squad of 20.
I think there's a lot of...
What about first... Who gets in our team? You've argued Kabori might over Sariki.
Yeah.
You've argued that Doyle does over Bindon and Tanganga, which I'm not entirely convinced is a slam dunk either. Who else are you saying? Ben Sheaf over Gyro?
Sam Smith definitely does.
Sam Smith over Bamford?
Yep, at the minute. Yeah, look how well he played. Look, he's a good player, mate.
Look how well he played on that day.
Mate, there you go. All this season, he's been brilliant, and it doesn't.
He's not been in the side. Kiefer Moore's been in.
He started 11 games.
Was he better on Saturday, Jim? Did he play better on Saturday
than Bamford?
Yes.
As a one-off game, is that what we're judging on now?
Game. Every time I see Sam Smith,
give me Sam Smith's stats then, Dave. You sound crazy.
I've gone on to, so let me do Bamford first because I've got it up. 21 matches, 15 he started, 9 goals.
Yeah, not bad. Nearly a goal every game.
Great, I like Bamford.
Every game.
33 appearances, 11 starts, 7 goals, 1 assist.
I think he's.
I like him
better than Bamford.
I'd like him as a squad option, but Bamford starts for me.
He would play a lot of matches in our team, no doubt about it.
Can't believe
no doubt about it.
That's not what we're saying. That's not the argument. You've just said he's better than Bamford.
I haven't said it. Right, you said right, and I quote you. You said none of them. You won't have any of them. That's what
you don't quote me then. You don't quote me because I said
saying it. You just think all our players are way better than everybody else.
You have not quoted me correctly there. I says I'll probably give you 3. I remember saying that.
No, you said you might think about 3. Your first comment was you wouldn't have had any of them. There's lots of good players in that squad that we would think
I can still make an argument for Sariki over Kabori. Doyle don't get in over Tanganga or Bindon. And Ben Sheaf don't get in over Gyro, and Sam Smith don't get in over Patrick Bamford.
I love Gyro. I think he's brilliant, right? But I still think if Ben Sheaf was in our squad, he would play a lot of games for us, a lot more than some of the other midfielders that we've got at the moment.
You're talking about Gyro. It's like
I know.
No.
No, dear.
No, I know how good
Oh,
Gyro
no.
is. I know he is, and I shouldn't have said Gyro really, but I think Gyro is probably our best midfielder this season.
Not as good as Ben Sheaf.
I think Ben Sheaf's a really good player. From what I see of him, from what I've seen, he'd definitely improve our squad, and I think he'd play a lot of games for Sheffield United if he was in our squad.
Just gonna let that lie.
You can let it lie. I don't. Yeah, mate. I just think we just glorify our players way too much. I think there's lots of players that we'd take and that would play for us.
Henry says Tottenham will have massive financial issues if they come down two seasons in the Championship. I think they'd be at risk of going bust. Their budget is designed for Europe, not Preston away. Josh Madger and Carlin Grant are frees in the summer. That's to be fair, Liam, they're both better than Patrick Bamford and Gyro, so I would probably have those in the side. In both boxes, says CPTD. In attack, very wasteful. Defending, been poor all season. Teams used to have to work very hard to get a goal against us. Not now. Faxon should have been at a League 2 club all season, says Luke. Yeah, League 2 as a minimum. Maybe first half League 2 if he does well. Second half League 1, something like that. Clear the Deadwood, says Walton. Send youth out on loan who can't get the first team game time. Fix the fitness issues that start after 65 minutes and find a Chris Morgan type captain to hold the team together on the pitch. John says we talk about the 2019 team a lot. The biggest difference is we had 11 captains on the pitch. Who do we have that justifies the armband at the minute? Very few, very few. Fraser says, Jimmy, with your new training schedule, you'll be playing for the Blades soon enough. I don't think so, my mate. Don't think so. Mogga says there's a good chance any other manager other than Wilder sees us relegated after Sayers. He's done a great job. Yeah, I agree with that. Paul says these owners have wasted a lot of money on really bad signings and will want to recoup it back. So United will be selling all our assets. I don't think we will. I don't know for sure. Proof will be in the pudding, but we'll wait and see. Players out, says Action Location. Adam Davis, Tom Davis, Cannon Campbell, Ings. Maybe get some money for Peck. Allows us to build. Tanganga is not a dominating centre half. Wilder will rebuild with Windass first in. A lot of players saying Windass is in. Mr. Vancouver. Mountain has lost the plot. Oh no!
I think we're deluded. I really do.
Oh, dude.
How much do we pay for Gyro, Jim?
For Gyro?
Yeah.
0. How much did they pay for Ben Sheaf? 10 mil.
Was it 10 mil?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know how much it was. To be fair, probably was.
It was
Michael says Mountain's the only one talking sense. Literally, Wrexham won both matches. Are in 7th, but have worse players, and nobody rates their manager. I didn't say that. If you watch us on Countdown to Kickoff, I praised the job Parky's done, and they've got a good team. Scott says Doyle, Kabore, O'Brien, Thomason been great. Windass, Smith, all good players. How many get in the 11? How many get in the 11? That is the question. That is the question. You defended a team that was bottom most of the season. You had a resurgence on the while, but Wrexham might go up. You won't. Thank you, Mr. Henry. One day you lads will have to suit up gladiator style, grab a couple of oversized cotton buds and knock 7 bells out of each other for charity. Love it.
We can't reach Mountain, that's the trouble.
I know. Right, okay, I think we're about there. Can you imagine Lincoln at Spurs or Stevenage next season? Oh, it'd be funny, won't it? It'd be funny. Lads, anything you would like to say or retract before we
listen, I'm not turning my back on the players I support, and I do love Gyro Riedeveld. I just
love Ben Sheaf more.
I don't love Ben Sheaf more. I just think that we're always a too Sheffield United centric, and we don't recognise the strengths and the qualities of the other team. And
I think we've been very critical of some of the United players tonight, and I think we do see them for what they are. But I also think there's a lot of quality in this side that we certainly showed for the first half and beyond on yesterday. And for it's other reasons other than quality that they don't get the job done, and that's what I'm critical of. It's not. I think we have got quality players in the side, and I don't think a lot of the Wrexham team. If you offered a Wrexham fan any of our side to go into their side, they'd take a lot of our players into their starting 11.
We should have got the job done. We didn't.
Correct.
We did enough. We did enough up until the point of putting the ball in the back of the net, and we lapsed on 2 occasions defensively.
I think we've lost a shed load of games this season, Jim, and I just think that we build up our players to be on a higher level, and I think they've shown at times really good levels, but they're just good players are consistent. To get out of the Championship, everybody knows you've got to be consistent, and our players this season have been anything but.
This
I
is
agree with that.
freak
I agree with that.
season, though, isn't it? It's this what's happened. It's not from a team to be third, 92 points to after 6 games not winning, not looking like winning a game. Manager out, manager back in. It's been such a
Mess.
a mess it's a great word to describe it. And I think we've seen how good they can be. They've just not been able to recreate it often enough and for long enough, sadly. But the quality is undoubtedly there, and that's why I think we back them, because we're not looking at players and going, we've not got enough as an 11. I think we've got more than enough as 11. We just can't sustain it, and the drop off as a squad, we are lacking behind other teams. And I think your point stands that there's plenty of players within the Championship that we'd love to take and add into our squad. Yeah. I think the pool of players that we would take and go, we want to add them into our first 11 is a much, much smaller pot.
Agreed. Paul, let you have the final say, mate, if you want.
No, just I think that it does. I'm personally satisfied with how this season has ended based on what happened at the start of the season, and I think that we do have to have that reality check that this is not. I don't think you can judge Wilder completely on this, and if you are going to judge Wilder, you judge him on the fact that we are going to survive this season in this league.
Yeah, that
would be his raison d'etre at the start of it. When he took over, the damage was not just about, it's 6 games at the start. Well, the season's 46, so you got 40 games to sort it. It took 15 matches for us to even find any kind of confidence back in this side in any sort of consistency. My only argument with Jim about the quality of the players is that they haven't produced it week in, week out. I think we've been up and down all season, and that is a player thing as well. Wilder sets up a team that can dismiss Ipswich 3-1 when they dipped 5-0 early on in the season, and then we can go and produce what we did against West Brom the other day with virtually the same team. And that, for me, is not the sign of real high quality players at this level. The difference between the teams that are going up is that they do it.
Is it quality or is it consistency? Is that the problem? Because you've talked about, and you're right to say, you get the inconsistency with young players. I think the frustration for me has been we do turn up in a performance like we did against Ipswich, like we did against Stoke, like we did against Leicester, and tease the fan base with what we know these players are capable of. And obviously, it's not a conscious decision of the players to play well or not well, but that is how good we can be, which gives me then reason to say Andre Brooks can be a great player. Sidney Peck can run games at this level. Doesn't do it on a consistent basis. I completely agree with you there. I think Sidney Peck's gone off boil the last couple of games.
I think he's tired, mate. He's
tired. He is tired, but that don't mean he's not a quality player. That don't mean, he's not in a conversation for being one of the best centre midfielders in the league. So I think he could be.
I think he could be, but I think there's other players who are sat top of the league, second in the league, who would go, I've been doing it all year, and I've been doing it nearly every single week, and I think that's it's fair enough. We've said it, we've already said it. The youngest players in the team have been the most impressive players this season for us, in Brooks, in Peck, in Femi, in Bindon more recently. They've been the most impressive, but they're up and down. They're at the start of the season, after the first spell, people would have been Bindon off. Pardon the pun. They'd have binned him. They'd have gone, nah.
We the three of us sat here on.
No, right, okay, and I will say that I thought there was still a player there, and I did say that. I think.
But we all said. But the question was asked: would you send him back in January? And all three of us went, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I thought his confidence was shot, and the reason with that is Wilder had binned him as well, hadn't he?
You can only look at the player that was in front of us, and the player that was in front of us then, when we made that assessment, is different from the player that's
Yeah, he is.
And there's a reason why the three of us are sat here talking about it and not working for the football club with a sign on the door that says first team manager.
Too right.
Yeah,
Too
I just think I think that quality is about consistency as well as and I don't want to say about Gyro. Gyro's, he's arguably been, since he came in, has probably been our most influential player overall. So yeah, I'll probably take that one. I will have to take that back actually, because he is a super player. But Sheaf was a £10 million player, is still a quality operator at the level. So I do want to. I would find a space for him in our squad, and I do think he'd play a lot.
In the squad, yeah.
In the squad,
I think he'd play a lot of games for us as well. I think he'd start a lot of games for us as well. So
okay. Right, we'll call it there. Thank you to the boys for another really interesting conversation. We're going to go and get them cotton buds out now and see if we can finish it off properly. Thank you to everybody in the comments, and particularly to those kind enough to send in super chats. Really do appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be here every Sunday, or we try to be anyway. Certainly 2/3 of us whenever it can or can't happen, but we try and be as consistent as we can with this. But yeah, we'll be back really soon. Thank you for joining us. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Don't make me wear lycra.